Cancer has become a leading cause of death all over the world. Millions of deaths due to cancer are reported every year, and millions of new cases of cancer are also diagnosed every year. Cancer can affect any cell, any tissue, any organ. The mechanism by which cancer develops is yet to be understood fully. But the role of various agents in the development of cancer is known for quite some time. For example, the relationship between smoking and lung cancer is known for a number of years. The role of various chemicals that can cause cancer is also known for quite some time. If we are exposed to these chemicals repeatedly over a prolonged period, these chemicals can cause cancer. But the exact mechanism by which cancer develops is not yet fully understood. It is only in recent times that we have begun to understand the role of various genes like proto-oncogenes, oncogenes, and anti-oncogenes in the development of cancer. Cancer is a disorder of cell growth, cell division. Cell growth occurs because of cell division. In mitosis, a parent cell divides into two daughter cells, and during each cycle of mitosis, the number of cells is doubled. But normally, this cell division is very precisely regulated. In growing age, the number of cells increases, but in adults, the number of cells remains more or less constant. In an adult human being, the number of cells is about 10 raised to 14, and these are cells of different types. Now, different cells have different lifespans, but when a cell becomes senescent, it is replaced by new cells. The older cells are replaced continuously by new cells. And in adults, there is a balance between the rate of cell birth and the rate of cell death. And this balance keeps the total number of cells constant. This balance is maintained by some regulatory mechanisms. The mechanisms which regulate the rate of cell birth and the mechanisms which regulate the rate of cell death. In cancer, this balance is disrupted. The balance between cell birth and cell death is disrupted. And because of this disruption, because of the disturbance in regulation, the cells begin to divide excessively. So failure of regulation or disturbance in regulation leads to excessive cell division, and this excessive cell division transforms the normal cells into cancer cells. Now, one property of cancer cells is that they divide uncontrollably. They are not under normal regulation. A second property of cancer cells is that they can invade the surrounding tissues or the neighboring tissues. And a third property is that the cancer cells can spread to distant sites. When there is excessive cell division, excessive proliferation of cells, this leads to the formation of a solid mass. And this mass is commonly known as a tumor. But all the tumors are not cancers. The tumors can be divided into benign tumors and malignant tumors. Benign tumors are non-cancerous. Malignant tumors are cancerous. Now, there are some differences between benign tumors and malignant tumors. Benign tumors grow slowly. The rate of growth is very slow. Secondly, they remain confined to the site where they originated. So they don't go beyond the site of their origin. And sometimes they can stop growing and they can even decrease in size. They can regress also. But malignant tumors usually grow very rapidly. As we have seen, they invade the neighboring tissues, the surrounding tissues, and they can spread to distant sites. The spread to distant sites is known as metastasis. So, a malignant tumor can metastasize. That means it can spread to distant sites. On the left, we see a benign tumor. The cells are more or less of a similar shape. They are confined to the site where the tumor originated. On the right, we see a malignant tumor. The cells are of different size and shapes, and they are breaking away from the site of origin. They are ready to spread to distant sites. If metastasis occurs, that means the cancer cells detach from their site of origin and they spread to distant sites. This confirms that the tumor is malignant because a benign tumor never metastasizes. It never spreads to distant sites. So the spread to distant sites confirms that the tumor is malignant or cancerous. And when metastasis occurs, the original site where the tumor was formed first is known as the primary cancer, and the tumors which are formed at distant sites are known as secondary cancers. So on the top, on left side, we see the cancer has been formed, the cells are proliferating, there is invasion of neighboring tissues, and some of the cancer cells have broken away from the primary cancer. This is the primary cancer, the site where the cancer originated. Some of the cancer cells have detached from the primary cancer, and in this case, they have entered a blood vessel. They can enter lymphatics also. So, via blood vessels or lymphatics, they travel to distant sites and then they can come out of the blood vessel or the lymphatic and they can lodge at a distant site and they start proliferating again, forming a secondary cancer. These secondary cancers can occur at a number of sites. In this example, we are seeing that a secondary cancer has been formed in liver, another secondary cancer has been formed in a bone, secondary cancer has been formed in lungs, and a secondary cancer has been formed in the brain also. And this is the primary cancer. So when metastasis occurs, the cancer cells spread to distant sites and secondary cancers can be formed at a number of distant sites. Now, malignant tumors, as we have seen, are cancerous tumors. They are known as cancers. Cancers can arise from any cell type, and cancers are classified and named according to the cell that they arise from, the cell of origin. If cancer arises from epithelial cells, such a cancer is known as a carcinoma. So carcinomas are the cancers of epithelial cells. The cancers that arise from connective tissue are known as sarcomas. The cancers that arise from leukocytes are known as leukemias, and cancers of lymphocytes which remain confined to the lymphatic system are known as lymphomas. But all the cancers of different types are collectively known as malignant neoplasms or malignant tumors or malignant growths or simply as malignancies. So all these are synonyms of cancer. The role of DNA in development of cancer has been discovered in recent times. We know that when a cell divides by mitosis, two daughter cells are formed. During mitosis, the DNA of the parent cell is replicated. Two copies of the parent DNA are formed, and each daughter cell receives one copy of the DNA. And since the DNA of the daughter cells is identical with the DNA of the parent cell, all the characteristics of the two daughter cells are identical with the characteristics of the parent cell. Now, when a cancer cell divides, the daughter cells are also cancer cells. And these daughter cells also inherit their DNA from the parent cancer cell. So this means that there must be some difference in the DNA of the normal cells and the DNA of the cancer cells. That's why the division of normal cells produces normal daughter cells. The division of cancer cells produces daughter cancer cells. And the cancer cells are formed from normal cells. A normal cell transforms into a cancer cell. And if the DNA of the cancer cell is different from the DNA of the normal cell, it means that during this transformation, some change occurs in the DNA of the normal cell. When the normal cell changes into a cancer cell, some change occurs in the DNA of the cell. And this change, the DNA which has changed, is transmitted by the cancer cells to their daughter cells. So the daughter cells are also cancer cells. This transformation of normal cells into cancer cells can be brought about by a number of agents. It can be brought about by some chemical agents. It can be brought about by some physical agents. And sometimes this change is brought about by some biological agents, mainly viruses. So in genesis of cancer, a major role is played by chemical agents, some role is played by biological agents and physical agents, and about 5% role is played by heredity also. We will first look at the role of chemical agents. A number of chemicals are known to cause cancer if we are exposed to these chemicals repeatedly over a prolonged period. And actually, these chemicals that can cause cancer are mutagenic chemicals, the chemicals that can cause mutations in the DNA. So, mutagenic chemicals which are known to damage DNA are also known to cause cancer. And there is a large variety of chemicals that are mutagenic. These are some of the examples of mutagenic chemicals: benzpyrene, dimethyl benzanthracene, acetylaminofluorine, dimethylnitrosamine, diethylnitrosamine, aflatoxin B, asbestos, beryllium, and there are many more. Some of these chemicals can directly transform the normal cells into cancer cells. So when normal cells come in contact with these chemicals, they are transformed into cancer cells. And these chemicals are known as carcinogens, the chemicals that can cause carcinoma. But there are some other chemicals which are not directly carcinogenic. But when they enter our body, they can be converted into carcinogens and then they can cause cancer. And these chemicals are known as procarcinogens. That is, they are precursors of carcinogens. And this conversion of procarcinogen into carcinogen is generally brought about by hydroxylation of the chemical. The procarcinogen is hydroxylated and it gets converted into a carcinogen. And this hydroxylation is catalyzed by microsomal hydroxylation system. New chemicals are discovered continuously, and a number of new chemicals are introduced in the market every year. Some of these chemicals may be carcinogenic. Such carcinogenic chemicals should not be allowed to enter the market. So whenever a new chemical is discovered, its safety should be established. The new chemical must be subjected to certain tests to find out that it is safe, that it is not carcinogenic. So we need mechanisms, we need methods for detection of carcinogens. Methods that can tell us that a given chemical is either carcinogenic or it is not carcinogenic. One way of testing carcinogenicity of a chemical is animal experimentation. We can expose an experimental animal to the chemical which is being tested repeatedly and for a long period. If a cancer develops in the test animal, it means the chemical is carcinogenic. But this testing in animals is very time consuming and it is very expensive. A rapid and very inexpensive method for detection of carcinogenicity of chemicals was devised by Ames, and this test is known as Ames assay or Ames test. So by this test we can find out in very short periods whether a given chemical is carcinogenic or not. Actually, this test is not a test for carcinogenicity, it is a test for mutagenicity, whether the chemical causes mutations. And every mutagenic chemical is a potential carcinogen. So, by Ames assay or Ames test, we can find out whether the given chemical is mutagenic. This test is done in a bacterium known as Salmonella typhimurium. This is the bacterium which causes typhoid fever or enteric fever. But we don't use the normal Salmonella typhimurium for this test. We use a mutant strain of this bacterium which is known as the tester strain of Salmonella typhimurium. This strain, tester strain, is formed from normal Salmonella typhimurium by a mutation. And because of this mutation, the tester strain loses the ability to synthesize histidine. So normal Salmonella typhimurium is capable of synthesizing histidine, but the tester strain cannot synthesize histidine because it has lost the ability to synthesize histidine because of a mutation. So this tester strain will grow in a culture medium only if histidine has been added to the culture medium. If histidine is not present in the culture medium, this tester strain cannot grow. So we take two petri dishes. We put agar gel in both the petri dishes. Agar gel is the culture medium. And then the tester strain of the bacterium, Salmonella typhimurium, is added to both the petri dishes. But the culture medium which has been put in the petri dishes does not contain histidine. So histidine is not present in the culture medium. Now the chemical which is being tested is added to one of the two petri dishes, and the second petri dish will serve as a control. If the chemical which we are testing is mutagenic, it will cause some mutations in the tester strain of bacteria. And we generally add a relatively large amount of the chemical, so it will cause multiple mutations in the tester strain. And one of these mutations can restore the ability of the tester strain to synthesize histidine. So now the tester strain will be able to grow in the culture medium even in the absence of histidine. And if this happens, it means the chemical is mutagenic. We compare the control dish and the test dish after 48 hours. On the left side, we see the control dish. On the right side, we see the test dish. We find very few colonies of the tester strain in the control dish, and we see a much larger number of bacterial colonies in the test dish. This means that the tester strain has grown rapidly in the test dish, and this is possible only if a mutation has occurred in the tester strain, because of which the tester strain has regained the ability to synthesize histidine. So the given chemical is mutagenic. If we are testing pro-carcinogens, there is a problem. Pro-carcinogens have to be converted into carcinogens. This usually occurs by hydroxylation. But the bacteria do not possess microsomal hydroxylase system. So they cannot convert pro-carcinogens into carcinogens. And therefore, it is difficult to detect pro-carcinogens by the classical Ames tests. But we can modify the Ames test so that it will detect pro-carcinogens also. The chemical which we are testing is pre-incubated with mammalian liver homogenates. This liver homogenate contains the microsomal hydroxylase system. So if the chemical is a procarcinogen, the liver homogenate will hydroxylate it and will convert it into a carcinogen. We take liver homogenate in a test tube and we add the tester strain of Salmonella typhimurium in this test tube. We add this mixture of liver homogenate and tester dish to one petri dish, which we call as control dish. This control dish contains the culture medium but not histidine. That is, it contains culture medium lacking histidine. Now we put the chemical which we are testing in this test tube. We incubate this chemical with the liver homogenate in the test tube. So if the chemical is a procarcinogen, it will be converted into carcinogen by liver homogenate. And now we put this mixture in a second petri dish which we call as a test dish. This dish also contains the same culture medium without histidine. We compare these two dishes after 48 hours. We find a very small number of colonies in the control dish, but we find a much larger number of colonies in the test dish. This means that the chemical which we have put in the test dish has caused mutations, and one of these mutations has restored the ability of the tester strain to synthesize histidine. So in this way, by a slight modification of the test, we can detect procarcinogens also. Then this conversion of normal cells into cancer cells can be brought about by some physical agents also. The physical agents that can cause cancer include various types of ionizing radiation like ultraviolet rays, X-rays, gamma rays, etc. All these radiations are also known to damage DNA. They are DNA damaging agents. For example, ultraviolet rays can cause the formation of pyrimidine dimers in the DNA. X-rays and gamma rays generate free radicals, and free radicals are known to damage DNA. Then some biological agents are also known to cause cancer, and these biological agents are some viruses. The viruses that can cause cancer are known as oncoviruses. Oncos means tumor But now this term oncos has become synonymous with cancer, and the branch of medical science that deals with cancer is known as oncology. So oncoviruses are the viruses that can cause cancer. We know that the viruses may possess a DNA genome or an RNA genome. Accordingly, we call the viruses as DNA viruses or RNA viruses. Now, oncoviruses include some DNA viruses as well as some RNA viruses. Some representative examples of DNA viruses that can cause cancer are Epstein-Barr virus, human papilloma virus, and hepatitis B virus. Some examples of RNA viruses that can cause cancer are human T cell lymphotropic virus and hepatitis C virus. When an oncovirus infects an animal cell or a human cell, the DNA of the virus enters the infected cell. The viral genes are incorporated in the DNA of the infected cell or the host cell. So as a result of this incorporation, the DNA or the genome of the host cell is altered. In the next video, we will see the mechanisms by which the chemical agents, the physical agents, and the biological agents transform the normal cells into cancer cells. Thank you.